Hi guys, just coming to you from my living room, sitting here relaxing on my couch, and I wanted to add a little something to our cooking technique. Chef Greenspan and I were talking, and we are going to add another intricate part of the cooking techniques, and I think it would be a great fit here. Unfortunately, we won't get through the rest of this section until after the holidays coming up. But this would be a great place to fit this in here. So this is what we were working on class Thursday and Friday. I'm sitting here at Veterans Day at home, working on homework of my own and curriculum for you guys and kind of straightening up my house. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about stocks. Basically, there are a couple of different parts of a stock. There's a major flavoring ingredient, okay, like in the case of the stock, we're going to make chicken bones. There's a liquid, and that's usually water. It could also be what they call a remoulade, which is a second wetting of the bones. And I'll talk about that a little bit more later, but that is after you make a stock, a great stock, like we're going to make over the next couple of days. And instead of throwing the bones away, we decide to add more water and make it again. It makes a much weaker stock. Think of anybody who's ever made a cup of tea with a tea bag. The first one is great, nice and strong the way you want it. If you try to use that tea bag a second time, it's a little weaker, and the third time a little weaker. It's the same kind of principle. So if the liquid we don't use is water, it could be that remoulade, and we'll talk a little bit more, like I said, about that later. And then aromatics. Well, mirepoix, sorry, back up. Mirepoix would be next. Mirepoix, a standard mirepoix for stocks, and a standard mirepoix for anything. And you're going to hear the word mirepoix. And if I tell you, hey, go make me a mirepoix, 2 pounds of mirepoix. Now, I'll tell you an amount. Go make me 2 pounds of mirepoix. If I did not specify something different, a standard mirepoix is 50% onion, 25% carrot, and 25% celery. Okay. And it's just coarsely chopped onions, carrots, celery. Typically, in school, I'm going to have you chop it small dice or medium dice because it's a great practice for knife cuts. Okay, but you're going to see if you're with us Thursday, Friday, we're going to use scraps. We're going to use some various parts of the onion. We'll use the onion peel, some of them. We'll brown some onions perhaps. So you're going to see us modify that mirepoix a little bit. So I do expect you guys to ask how we're modifying that and why. Aromatics, that's a bouquet garni, sachet of spices, whatever you want to call it. We're going to put some parsley, some cracked peppercorns, a couple of cloves, and a bay leaf inside a piece of cheesecloth, and we're going to tie it to the pot. Or sometimes chefs will just throw it on in the pot, but it causes more things to have to be strained out, and it can cloudy up your stock. And sometimes chefs are looking for the clarity in a stock, so they don't want to add a lot that will cloud it up. And we'll talk more about that in the stock making process. Which, by the way, when we do make a stock in class, for those of you at home, I'm going to record that. And I'm also recording it for the hybrid program because the A day students will see the stock being started. The B day students will be the ones pulling the stock out. So I will be recording both sessions so A can have what happened on B day, B can have what happened on A day, and those of you at home on distance learning can have them both. So those will be added here probably soon, this coming up weekend or Monday or Tuesday, depending on how they record and what my time schedule's like. The weekend's a little packed with the chef's competition coming up. All right, so we talked about mirepoix, 25% or 50% onions, 25% carrots, 25% celery. So if I told you 2 pounds of mirepoix, I mean 1 pound of onion. So that's half an onion. Half of it's got to be onion. 25% carrots, so that'd be 8 ounces of carrots. And 25% celery, that'd be 8 ounces of celery to make that other pound. If I asked for just 1 pound or 16 ounces, then I'd be asking for 8 ounces of onion, 4 ounces of carrots, and 4 ounces of celery. and that is a standard mirepoix. You just need to remember it is 50, 25, and 25. Okay, moving along. Types of stock. Okay, stock actually comes from the French term fond, which means foundation. It is a building block of many soups, many sauces. You'll hear us talk about stock a lot. In some cases, you've seen us pull stock out. You've used some of the stock that we've had made already. You guys fabricated the chicken that we are going to make the stock from the carcasses from, because that's what we need. We have white sauce, brown stock, fumé, court bouillon, glacé, remoulade, bouillon, juice, and vegetable stock. Each one of those we'll be talking about. I won't talk about all of them during this session, but I will talk about them a lot of them in the future. We are going to make a white stock this week. White stock just means we're not browning the bones. It can be made with beef bones, chicken bones, veal bones. You can make a regular vegetable stock. That would be sometimes called a white stock. A brown stock would be where you're going to roast the bones for a certain period of time. You're going to caramelize them. You're going to get a little bit more color out of that. You're going to get a darker stock, hence the term brown stock. Fumé and court bouillon deals with seafood. A glace is more of a glaze, where you're taking a stock and reducing it to a small level. Remoulage, we've talked about. That's the second wetting of the bones. That's where you're going to add some, more cold water to the bones that have already made a stock, and you're going to make a weaker stock. Okay. Bouillon, juice, and vegetable stock. Well, bouillon and juice we will talk about more later. Okay. So we must cut the bones into the right size and prepare them. So we can't take an entire, beef bone, leg bone, veal bone, and put them in there. Chicken bones a lot smaller, a lot thinner, so they cook up just fine. We don't really have to cut them up. You can throw entire carcasses into the stock pot. For chicken, their bones are much smaller, so you don't have to worry about it. But the bigger bones need to be cut up, and we'll talk about that when you see us make a beef stock, which may be January. I don't know. Okay. Got to get this to go to the next slide. There we go. So we're going to blanch the bones. Get rid of some of the impurities. So the way to do that is you want to throw the bones into a cold stock, and then you want to bring them up to a boil, just to a boil, and then turn them off. Drain the water and rinse them off. Then add more cold water and start over again. To brown bones, to make a brown stock, you're going to roast them in a hot oven until they're brown. Chicken bones won't take near as long as beef bones. I've seen beef bones roast in an oven for almost, when I used to work at Harrah's, we used to roast the bones, the veal bones, for several hours, probably 4 hours, 5 hours. So we'd get them in there for a long time. Then you got to sweat the bones. That allows the bones and the mirepoix to release flavor more quickly. Okay, so you're going to sweat that. Start the pot up, get it hot. Then you're going to add some cold water to it. Cold water, and letting that water heat up slowly through that temperature area, extracts more flavor into the stock. Excuse me. Apparently it's my nap time. It is 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so it's pretty much time for nap. And then we, of course, always have to practice food safety when we are making anything in the kitchen. So we want to follow that. After the stock is made, we have to cool it properly. We're going to cool it in ice baths, and you guys will see that in the upcoming videos when we do the stocks. Degreasing stock. I typically do it just like this picture shows. I let the stock cool overnight. What happens is the fat will rise to the top. Then the next day you get what looks like this. You get a hard layer on top of your stock, because that's the saturated fat that hardens as it cools. Solid at room temperature, solid at cold temperatures. You're going to get that you can spoon right off of your stock. That takes a lot of that fat and impurities out of there. Also, you might want to use that fat for another purpose. Maybe you want to cook with it. Okay. So we can skim off that hard fat after the stock completely cools. The fat will rise to the surface, and the next day it'll look like this, and we can skim it off. So, you might see that as well. All right, so we're going to make some stocks. It's basically the start of soups. It's the start of sauces that we're going to make. It's the start of everything we do in the culinary kitchen. It is, of course, the fond or foundation of what we do. Major flavor ingredients: liquid, aromatics, mirepoix. So we have our bones, we have our water, we have our aromatics, and our onions, carrots, and celery. Okay. Many types of stock: white, brown, fumet, court bouillon, glazed, remoulade, bouillon, juice, and vegetable stock. When using bones for stock, you have to cut them in the right size, and you have to prepare them by blanching, browning them, or sweating them, depending on what you're trying to do. Degreasing is the process for removing fat that is cooled and hardened at the surface. And to cool a stock, we want to follow proper food sanitation rules. We want to break that down into smaller containers. It is a thin liquid, thank goodness, so we can take it, and just like this picture in the upper right-hand corner shows us, we can stick that container, metal container, in ice water. The metal will take that cold from the ice water and transfer it on into the stock. We continue to want to stir that stock every once in a while, so I keep a spoon in it, a metal spoon, which also transfers the heat. And every once in a while, we'll come by and we'll give that a little stir in the ice bath. And we need to get that from whatever temperature we pull that stock out of all the way down to 70 degrees, okay, within 2 hours. And then we have an additional 4 hours to go from 70 to 40 degrees, or 41. And that can happen in the refrigerator. And if you get it to 70 in 2 hours, wheel that in the refrigerator, it'll be done in 40 degrees within a couple, 2-3 more hours. It'll be done. So, got to get it out of the temperature danger zone as quickly as possible. All right, that's it on stocks for today. Here is your hidden Easter egg that nobody has taken me up on. Nobody wants the final questions, so I thought I'd sweeten the pot a little bit. I have a $5 bakery gift certificate for the Academy Bakery that I will give to the first student who notifies me via mail, email, via text message, remind, or in person about this Easter egg. If you notify me, hey, I watched the video and you're offering a $5 gift certificate, boom, it's yours. If you're the first student, okay? So keep that in mind. On the other hand, I'm hiding Easter eggs because I don't think anybody's watching my videos. So I'm not talking about them. So you won't hear me announce the winner. But when you call me, I will tell you, sorry, somebody's already claimed it. If somebody's already claimed it. But if you're the first, you will get it. All right, guys. That's what I got. Those gift certificates are good forever, too. So if you happen to be a distance ed kid, I'm hoping we will not be on distance ed forever, and we'll have you in our amongst us, and you can use a bakery certificate in 6 months, in a year, and whatever the case may be. All right, guys. Thanks. Have a great day.